Hey everyone, welcome to my stream. So last week I started working on adding gamepad support and actually got something working. So let's show that off. So here's my gamepad. I realized I can show it on my second camera here rather than up here. So let me just get this hooked up. Oh yeah. Just a second. Need to regenerate my CMake files. Okay, so this is running, and I'll try to show you what's how this works. Okay, so now it says player one. I think it's B or something, or oh, I think I just put 2 players. Okay, that's it. So basically, I can turn with the analog. It looks like this game doesn't really have like true analog support in the sense of making my ship turn slower or faster based on the analog input. It looks like it's actually digital. So as soon as I cross some threshold, it just starts turning, which is a shame actually. But I think what I read about how input works, and specifically how analog input works, is that it's actually significantly slower to try to process analog in terms of CPU cycles. So a lot of games don't actually make use of it. But yeah, you can see here, just looking on OBS here. Okay. Oh, and then I just got killed. All right, let's see. Okay, I gotta move because. Oh yeah, there's some weird bugs going on here. See that this is not the sequence that was supposed to occur. So there's still a bug somewhere. I'm not sure where it is, but there's a bug looming in my emulator related to spawning. Now, of course, I'm running a ROM here. The ROM typically works, so it's got something to do with some mistake in my emulator. I'm not quite sure what it is. See, it's Minefield 2. See, now that's the guy that's supposed to spawn, I think, and maybe not even. The last round, we saw that we didn't get those guys spawning, so something's up. And I know that there's a bug where when we kill a certain type of mine, it suddenly tries to access memory out of range. So we'll probably see that in the next round. See this guy here. If I don't lose all my guys. Oh no, okay, it's because I'm playing a 2-player game. Okay, so that's why. This is Minefield 1. Okay. Whoa, that was weird. I went right through a guy. Okay, so now we're back to Minefield 3. field 4. Okay, so actually I don't think I've ever come this far on this stream. So these are the most dangerous of the mines. They follow you, and when you shoot them, they turn into these ninja stars. They're like extremely annoying. You kind of want to take care of them first. Okay. Ah. Alright, anyway. Pretty good. So, I'm going to start by cleaning up that code. Because I kind of hacked it together last week just to get something working, and now I want to do something proper. Oh, hey, Kluash. Kluash says that he followed me from Ferris's stream. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. Thanks for joining. So I guess this is your first time here? Well, welcome. I don't know if you just saw me playing, but that was the emulator running. Oh, you're in Europe. So what time is it for you? It's 9 p.m. here. I guess it's like, what, 5 hours or 6 hours ahead, generally in Europe? So it must be like early morning for you? Yeah, 3 in the morning. Damn. You're up late? Well, I appreciate you coming in just to say hi. I don't know how long you plan on staying if it's 3 in the morning. I suspect you won't be staying too long, but I definitely appreciate it. So yeah, last week the code I wrote, you know what, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna reset to here. Oh, you stick around for half an hour, thanks. That's cool. I just want to see what changes I have here. So basically, I added an unordered map here. I have this controller index to instance ID, which I don't know if I really need it. I suppose I need it for remove controller. Add controller, remove controller. So this is like SDL stuff. You had to initialize the game controller stuff here. Yeah, I had to like forcibly add controller 0. I think. Did I? I don't even know if I really needed that. That was based off something I read, but that may not be true. I'll have to double check. And then I have all this code here in the SDL event loop. Now, what I did here is come back into the code. Is I'm looking for certain events like device added, device removed. So this device added ostensibly happens when you connect a controller, and I believe it happens even. Let's say I don't do this add controller. I think the first time you run with SDL, it'll call that event when it detects controllers, because that just makes life a lot easier. So let's see here. Yeah, so you see, like I just started and I got an SDL controller device added, and I believe that's exactly what happens. Is that SDL says, okay, we scanned on boot, we saw that there are controllers there. So to make your code simpler, we're just going to call device added for each one that we detect. So there is one, and let's really make this window appear a bit more central. Just make sure, and then there's also device remove, so that should happen when I unplug my controller. But I'm just gonna make sure this works first. Yeah, it looks like it's working. Okay, so that's working. Now if I unplug it, here, actually I'll put a breakpoint in here. Okay, there we go. So I hit my breakpoint here, and here I should be removing. So I got a controller here, and I say SDL controller get close. Now I'm not taking care of this properly here in terms of my map. But honestly, I don't know why I would need this map. Because it seems like I would not need it, because when I get these other events, I get exactly the instance ID that I need, so I'm not sure if I need this mapping. Anyways, this closes it, and then if I replug it, I get the add again. Instance ID, index 0. And then let's see, oh, I just died. So let's see if this works. Still, yeah, so that's cool. So that pretty much works. This is just SDL being awesome. Like, I don't have much to do there. That's really, the magic is hidden behind SDL's controller gamepad input stuff, which is really nice. Okay, so that's good. Now, controller open, controller close. So it looks like really what we're supposed to do is just call this open controller, and then that's it. Still, I think that's all you need to do, is say open on that index. Yeah, because this which is an index. The device index for the added event, instance ID for a removed or remapped event. So that's it. It depends on context. So here it's the index. We take it, you open on that index, it returns a controller. Now what you do with that controller is up to you. I think here, I mean, I'm doing some stuff just to get this instance ID, but I don't think I need it. The remove is different. The which is actually a instance ID. And then all you're supposed to do is say, you know, get the game controller from instance ID and then call close on that controller. So Kluash is asking, is the timing info you get when you step through the code of Visual Studio standard feature, or is it some plugin? It's actually a standard feature of Visual Studio. I believe 2017 introduced it. So Visual Studio 2017, so it's pretty nice. Okay, and now what I wanted to do was, so here what I do is when button down or button up gets pressed, I process it directly. Like, I'm going in here and I'm saying, okay, you know, check for specific things and like set my input. What I want to do instead is I would like to kind of have a little abstraction here where I have some kind of like, similar to how there's this asynchronous key state for keyboard presses. I want to have this like async joystick or async gamepad state, so that these events just set and unset flags or bools or something in an array, and then I can check that array afterwards. And I like that because it'll centralize the code that sets the input. So what I used to do, so here's the input structure, and I had this function update input, which I've commented out for now, but this was the one that was saying, hey, get the keyboard state here and like check specific keys on the keyboard to set input. And I would like for this function to be able to say, well, if you want to do keyboard input, I can do it here. If you want to do joystick input, we can do that here as well. So to centralize this, I need to have the same kind of you know, a similar approach where we get this kind of lookup, this mapping of inputs to whether or not they're set. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll do that here, and I'll do that for axis motion as well. And I mean, one way I can do that is so this SDL axis, C axis here. Yeah, I don't need to store those events per se. Yeah, it's a pretty cool feature. I mean, the timings of when you're stepping, I don't know, like if I find those specifically that useful, because you know you're in a debugger. Sometimes it can tell you like, hey, this function looks like it's taking a long time when you step over it. But at the same time, you know, you're in a debugger, so things go slower. But what I do like is that it's hooked into the basic diagnostics tools, so you get like over time the percentage of processors, the amount of memory, and then in here you can actually go and set events and do like heap profiling and all kinds of stuff, record CPU profiles. It's all built in this Visual Studio performance profiler stuff. Really, really cool stuff. So I've used that to find memory leaks or figure out performance bottlenecks. That works quite well. Thirsty tonight. Okay, so let me think about how I want to do this. Like for buttons, I just care about whether it's down or up. But for axes here, there's this. Basically, they return a int32 value. So what do I want to do here? Okay, so they've got this enum here that I can make use of. They have a max, so I can store an array of these. And then I can store values in there. If I store an int32, I can pretty much capture all the values I care about. I'll just set it to 0 or 1 for the buttons, and I can set it to the axis value for the axes, right? Are these part of the same? Oh no, these are not even in part of, okay, buttons are one thing and then axes are another, so maybe I'll have two separate things in that case. For the axes, controller axis motion. Okay, that's the kind of thing there. Then you have this here. Ah, there we go. List of available axes from a controller. And then I kind of need that per controller. Okay, so that looks like I'll put it here. So let's say what do I want to call this? Gamepad state, and we'll have button state, or just bool. Maybe I'll make this a struct for now. Something like this. Actually, you know what? While I'm at it, let's make this an array. Like that. And we'll make an int array 32 for the axes. Where was that axis at? Here we go. Axis state. Int 32t. And this will be like per gamepad. Now we may have more than one. We actually will have two for the two different players. Oh, and I want these to be initialized. Can I do this? So gamepad state per player, isn't by player. Okay, so let's say that's what we've got now. I'm just thinking about how, rather than do it this way, I'll use a vector so that this way I can keep track of, should I use a vector? I was gonna say so I can keep track of which player it's associated to, but okay, yeah, this is what we'll do. We'll put the player index in here. And then I can use a vector here. Okay, we'll kind of play this by ear. So I think what we would want to do here is in add controller, we're getting an index, right? So now we will want to keep the mapping of instance ID to index. This will be useful because here, yeah, because here if we get one and we do this open, and if we get a controller, we'll say pushback. Okay, you know what? I'll give this little constructor. And then I'll do emplaceback. And then I'll pass it the index. And then in remove, we'll want to find the one with that and remove it from the gamepad state. State dot m underscore player index equals to okay, yes, I need to do a lookup here. Alright, so we make sure that we get back a proper iterator to the gamepad player, the gamepad state that we want to remove, and now we can remove it. Erase iter. This is one way to do it. I mean, another way I could do it is by making this some kind of map, right? And then we just kind of use the index as the key. So that might be a better way to do it. So we'll see. We'll see how this works out. All right, so now assuming that we have everything in place here, then when we get these events, yeah, one thing I'm realizing is that I'm gonna have to constantly do these conversions from instance ID to index over here. So probably would be good to have a utility function for that. I'm probably gonna have to put all this gamepad state in its own file at some point. Actually, I don't really need that. I can always just use this guy here. No, this is not right. Gamepad states. So maybe a function that would be helpful here is gamepad state get gamepad state by instance ID. I find myself needing to do this find again. Oh, but you know what? It's okay. This means I can refactor this code. So there's the index, the find. Assert that it's not invalid, and then return start hitter. That returns the gamepad state by index. Right. Yeah, I can't actually refactor this code because I need the iterator here, and here I'm not returning the iterator, I'm returning the dereferenced iterator. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so let's say I have that, then we can proceed here. Okay, so here's cButton, which is the instance ID, and we want to set the button state of this guy. So actually, I don't want to do a switch. I just want to say this is equal to true. Actually, it's equal to true if it's button down, right? So it's equal to button down. There we go. So all of this disappears. Okay, let's keep this reference here. So that sets the button state, and now similarly we'll do the same for the axis state. So here we want to get the instance ID again, which is actually the same. Like that. Axis state of c-axis axis equals, and we'll just put the value of c-axis value like that. And now this disappears, and this here will actually be moved. My little helper function will be moved up. Okay. Yeah, so I'll move that up into the update input function, which is around here somewhere. Here. Okay, so what I've done, let's just see if this builds. Right. I cannot implicitly capture index, so I'll capture it by copy here. And it doesn't like something in my find. Oh, it's find if, right. And then I need to do the same thing for the other one. Okay. So now I've generalized how I capture the buttons and analog states into my little structures per player. Did I? Yeah. That's it. Exactly. And so now I can transfer my code over to this function here where we compute the input structure. And actually now, last week I was thinking about like combining, if you press a keyboard or you press a gamepad, it should work. And I could do that now. I could, but do I want to? Okay, for now we won't do the keyboard stuff. So we'll say if keyboard input. Okay, else we're doing gamepad input. All right. Now we have to do this if we have a gamepad. Or actually what we'll do is we'll loop over our gamepads. That's it. So for each gamepad state, so here we have a player index, and we'll say, okay, I basically want to do what I have here in my switch. But this time we check it this way. We say input.setButton. We say which joystick index, and that's going to be the player index. Yeah, maybe player index is not the right name, and I should name it joystick index now that I think about it. Anyway, and then we have the button index. So yeah, that's like the what we're talking about here is the Vectrex button index, and then the bool to say whether it's enabled or not. So I went after this ordering last time. This is X and this is Y. Alright, and now we do the analog stuff. Joystick index is again the player index. And then the value for this is similar to what we had last time. We will remap the int32 into our int8 with the axis value. So that's going to be an axis state of left x. And where is my remap? Oh, it's down here. Similarly, for y, it'll be left y. Okay. So this is kind of cool because we, for free, get the multiplayer, multi-joystick input here. Or anyway, up to 2. That's one thing I need to make sure. Okay, so let's see if this works. Right, it's complaining because I'm expecting a joystick index to be a uint 8t, whereas my player index here is an int. Conversion from int to uint 8t. Did I mess this up somewhere? Oh, it's here. Doesn't like this int here. It's either I go this direction or I keep this integers. Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep these ints and just cast it where we set it. Joystick index. Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll say uint 8t. Hey Alvaro, how you doing, man? Okay, so that should build. Let's see if it still works. Alvaro, you're just in time to see, well, see if my little refactor of the gamepad input works. And one thing I want to do is I want to map as well the D-pad left and right. Some people prefer using the D-pad. Oh, and it's not working. Yeah, I got some basic input working. Now I'm refactoring it, so of course I broke it. Like if I press a button here. So let's see if this actually does what I think it should do. So first we're going to go and get our instance ID, get an index of 0. So that should return a valid iterator. It's kind of hard to see here, but yeah, it's got one in there. False, false, false. Some access states. All right. Okay, so the problem is that after processing an event, I need to then update. Oh no, I'm not even calling the update input. Yeah, that'll do it. And I'll do that after so that we get it on frame. In fact, no. I'll do like what I was doing before. Don't need this, this data structure anymore on the stack here. Just create it on the fly at the last minute, just before we call the client update. So that should do it. Oh, hey Steven. First time you've seen it run? Yeah, it totally runs. Yeah, you guys will see it working, and hopefully with gamepad working as well now. Okay, that looks like it read the button press. All right. So this looks like it's working. I'll try and hold this a bit closer to the camera. So you can see here, like, pressing the buttons, I'm moving, using the analog to turn. Now if I unplug it, and then replug it, it should theoretically still work, yeah. I need to try it with a second controller. Thanks, Steven. Yeah, I'm quite happy with this. So let's just add the D-pad input in there as well. So this means I can remove all this crap here now. Okay. So for that, we want to look at buttons, but I need to check here. What's the right way to do this? Yeah, it's that annoying thing about checking if one or the other is being pressed. So something like so D-pad left. If D-pad left is set, then we want to set this guy here, but basically same thing I was doing here. Yeah, you know what I should do is put this code in a little function, a little lambda expression. Digital to axis value. up, down, sorry. Int. Yeah, okay, it's not that simple. So if left is set, it's 128. If right is set, it's 127. Otherwise, it's 0. So then here I could do that. I can say this is left, and then this is right. And I'm saying left or right, but it can be up or down as well. So. Now similarly, yeah, so it's if either, it's a bit weird. Basically I'm saying if one of the D-pad buttons are pressed, we'll read that, otherwise we'll read the analog. So we'll say like D-pad kind of has a priority. And we'll do the same thing that we just did up here. Else, no? What's going on here? Else we will do it with the analog inputs. No? What don't you like? Good night, Steven. Thanks for hanging out. There's something here that's not quite right. But I don't see what it is. What does it not like? Okay, let me hoist this out. Oh, maybe up here. Oh, okay, it's this. missing a semicolon on the lambda here. Okay, that looks better. So if this works, okay, so if left or right on the D-pad is pressed, then we want to use the D-pad left or right to set the analog axis X. Otherwise, we want to use the real analog stick. Let's just try it with that to see if that even works. And then we'll do the same thing for Y. What is this? Argument conversion int to int 8t, possible loss of data. All right. This is not... Can I just put auto here? Does that do the trick? Oh, it's the result. uint 8 left. Okay, this returns an integer, whereas this guy wants an int 8t. Okay, yeah, that's not quite what we wanted. So we want this. There we go. Let's see if that works. So basically what I'm looking for is, does the D-pad left and right turn my ship? And does the analog also turn it? And if I press nothing, it should not turn. Okay, that's working, and that's working. It's good. Because some people prefer to use D-pads. Probably not on the Xbox controller because D-pad sucks, but on other controllers it should work fine. And what I'm thinking is, like, I'm not gonna bother with like you know, like allowing users to configure their buttons on their gamepad and stuff. The way SDL works is that it kind of assumes a gamepad layout similar to the Xbox 360 controller here. And what I was thinking of doing was just providing, like, you know, some presets for the 4 buttons. So always analog or D-pad will move will provide the analog input. While for button presses, I'll just provide, like, you know, 4 configurations or something where I just kind of rotate the button mapping, so you get to pick which button configuration you like in the, you know, some ini file or something, and then that's that. That should, you know, be enough for most people, because I don't really feel like getting into the whole, you know, press the button you want for this button and all that. Maybe later on if I get really sophisticated. Okay, so let's do up and down. Alright, so here we're looking at something similar. This time we're going to be checking if either left was the negative direction, so I think if this or, oops, or up is pressed, then left will be the same as going down, and right is the same as going up. It's gonna be hard for me to test this unless I have a way to select through a menu, because up and down has no meaning in this game. So I'll try a game that has a menu to see if this works. Otherwise, we do this. Okay, so let's put some little nice things to make this code a bit more legible. So we're gonna shorten button state like this, and then everywhere we see gamepad state, button state, we'll just replace it here. Let's just make the code smaller and cleaner since we're checking it everywhere. Okay, that's much better already. And using Clang format, it just reflows the code for you, so yeah, it's nice. So next, are there any other little niceties I can do here? This looks pretty good. And now if I was to put keyboard input here, now what I could do is I could do stuff like check if there are no gamepads, or if there's no gamepad for player 0, assume that we want the keyboard. Maybe something simple like that would be good for a first pass. And then maybe eventually the idea would be to allow the user to specify what they want for their player. If they want keyboard or gamepad. Okay, so keyboard still seems to work just fine. Okay, so I said I wanted to find something with where I could test up and down. What game can I use for that? Just something with a menu. What has a menu? And that actually runs in my emulator. Yeah, let's try one of the more modern ROMs. I think these modern ROMs often have like menus at the beginning, so we'll see if that's the case here. Oh, saying Mindstorm, I made a mistake in my path, I think. I think I'm just missing the quotes. Okay, so there's Vectrex. Press button 4 to start. Press 1 to start with game options. I think 1. What did I map 1 to? I know, okay. So actually, first of all, let's actually build without keyboard input on by default. So button 4, what did I map 4 to? Oh no, sorry, I was supposed to press, was I supposed to press 1, 4? So okay, what I did was basically X is the first button, then A is the second, and then B is the third. So I should totally just sort these. More, rather than sort them by A, B, X, Y, I should be sorting them by, there we go, like that. X, A, B, Y. So it's a circle like this. Press 1 to start with game options. Okay, there we go. Oh, but then you just, okay, there's no controller with, there's no menu here. So I don't think this game will allow me to test up and down. Let's try another one. Pretty sure I saw one that had a menu. What was it? What game has up and down control? Oh, I know. Oh no, I can't play Scramble. I need to have better game support. I'm trying to remember which games actually work. Clean Sweep? Does Clean Sweep work? That one has up and down in it. Let's try. What I need to do is I need to maintain like a ROM compatibility list and then work on getting them all compatible. Hopefully this works. Most of the ROMs that I test with my emulator, they crash. Okay, so far so good. And there you go. Okay, so no good. There was one that worked. What's that game called again? It does allow you to go up and down. It's was it Bedlam? Cluewatch says, I guess the crashing is the fate of every emulator developer. Oh yes, absolutely. It's all part of the game, man. I guess you're saying that because of Ferris, although it's not really a crash, but he has some corruption, right, that he's been working on. But yeah, like in my case, it's not a crash. I mean, it's an exception that I catch, but there's something weird and wonky going on. And there we go, another assertion here. What's the assertion? unhandled op. Oh, okay. So this one here actually has a CPU instruction I haven't implemented yet. You know what I should do is I should start maintaining that list that I keep saying I should do. So while I'm at it, right? I mean, I'm not going to be exhaustive about it, but Bedlam, and I'll say like that. But there is a game, Berserk. Berserk works. Yeah, quite sure I tried Berserk and I'm pretty sure it was working. Then another thing that's confusing is that it's possible that I tested some of these games with the Vectrex CPU implementation, and so games like Bedlam, where I didn't handle all the CPU ops, would work with the other one. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, so yeah, it's totally not working. Oh, what I mean to say is, so if I push down, I move up, and if I push up, I move down, so that's bad. Left and right is working. As for the D-pad, interestingly, up and down go left and right. So yeah, so I've got quite a few things to fix there. But at least I have a good test now. Oh, I see the bug. Okay, that takes care of the fact that D-pad left and right was controlling the x-axis. I had copy-pasted here. Good old copy-paste error. And it looks like I would need to swap. So I was saying left, which was negative, goes with down, I guess. Does it make sense? Yeah, I guess it makes sense. And then just for clarity and consistency, let's do that. So that should work. So thirsty. No, not quite right. Okay, so the down, down, up. Weird. How did I break my analog one? Oh no, I did. I never tested it. Okay. Okay. Right. This is actually the first time I test up and down, so what's happening here is that it's inverted from what we want. We need to put a negative on this guy. Basically, when I remap, or not negative there, sorry. I guess I could put it there, but on the outside would be better here. What's considered positive in terms of the gamepad's space for analog, like up is probably a negative value and down as a positive value, whereas it's the inverse for the Vectrex. We want up to be positive and down to be negative. So we just need to invert the result here. Okay, there we go. Everything works now. And this game actually will be way more fun to play with a controller that allows for a bit more finesse. I have this game, on my actual Vectrex, and I played it a lot. But what got to me was that it felt like I was just moving on and on and on forever. That's like basically the problem with these games. It's just a score-based thing, right? So it's like these randomly generated levels, and it's like, how long can you survive without dying? I used to think when I was a kid that I'd eventually reach some end, Okay, pretty happy with that. And so the next thing I just wanted to take care of was this keyboard input thing. Just thinking about what I had said earlier in terms of this being a vector and the player index being in there, the joystick index. Just gonna do a little bit of renaming here. So I'm gonna call this joystick index, and I'm gonna remove the sweet. It even detects it properly in the lambdas. That's awesome. Remove the m underscore because that's what I typically do for structs. If it's a struct and everything's public, I don't put the m underscore. So rename this guy to button state, and rename this guy to access state. For button, no. Okay, hold on. Maybe not button state, but button down. And then this guy, access value. Okay. Yeah, I think this is the wrong container. I think what we really do want is some kind of, say, hash map of index to gamepad state. Not hash map, unordered map. Instead of returning this, we return iter second, was it? Kluash says, it's been a pleasure. Got to be in class in 5 hours. Thanks for the stream and good night. Thanks, Kluash. Thanks for hanging out, man. Hope to see you next time if you're up at 3 o'clock. So here we want to do by layer index dot. Why isn't my IntelliSense working? Anyway, insert, or what's the yeah, I think I can do it this way now. Index and okay, yeah, so I'm going to be removing this here. And then for removal, okay, that's good. And now when we iterate through here, what we're actually getting is a pair. I wonder if I can use, yeah, since I'm in C++ 17, I think I can use, and I think I have the latest Visual Studio, so I believe 3.5, yeah, so I think I should be able to do that what do they call it there? The super cool capture thing. What's it called? Destructuring there, the destructuring stuff. Structured bindings, that's what it's called. So I'm pretty sure with that, I should be able to say something like auto ref index gamepad state while iterating through this guy. And I guess I'll say I want to see if this guy has an example here. Auto ref ref. Do I need auto ref ref for this? Here's a map of string int. I mean, it's possible the Visual Studio doesn't like this yet. It's looking that way right now. So here's what we'll do. We'll see if we're going to go on Godbolt here. We're going to put this code. And we're going to see if, let's open a compiler instance here. Okay, so this compiles a GCC. Should compile with, let's say, latest Clang. Or not, actually. Okay, so I guess we're kind of pushing it here. And MSVC also, I suppose. Doesn't even give us any output. Syntax error. Alright, so unfortunately I can't use the super cool structured binding stuff that I want to use. So we're going to go with I don't know. I never know what to call this thing. This is why we need the structured bindings, because it's gross iterating through a map. Okay, so see, this is better. I mean, except for this, like, you know, having to access through P first and P second. The fact that it's now a map makes more sense. And what that allows me to do is I can easily ask the question, do we have an entry for the 0th player index? And whether that we should use the keyboard, right? Hey BD, how's it going, man? Not much. Just been working on cleaning up my gamepad code. Guess I'll use find. So if we find a 0, that means player 1 has a gamepad. So player 1 doesn't have a gamepad, we'll use the keyboard. And what's interesting about this is I should be able to unplug the gamepad, and this code should work. Oh, I'm in debug. That's why it's running so slow. That's better. So this guy is plugged in. So keyboard is not doing anything, but if I hit here, I'm moving around. Keyboard's not working. Now if I unplug this, now the keyboard works. Oh shit. And if I replug it, yeah, this works again. So ABD says, I've gotten into the handmade hero streams recently. Been looking at those guys this past week a lot. When you say those guys, I thought it was just Casey Muratori. Are there more people now who are working on it? Okay, so Casey is the handmade hero guy, but they have a network called handmade.network. Oh, okay, so you mean like all the other streamers who have been kind of hopped on that network and are making games similar in the similar style, right? Like using C mainly. I think a lot of people are using Emacs. They have a bunch of other popular streamers that are friends, such as Alan Webster, Mr. Fourth Dimension, yeah, who made 4Coder. Right. Yeah, it's really cool. I follow a bunch of these guys too and watch when I can. It's good stuff. I didn't watch all of Casey's streams, but I did watch the first, I don't know, 20 or so. And I thought they were excellent. The guy's he's a good programmer and very very pragmatic in his approach. And actually, I would say that it's one of those streams that I watched that kind of inspired me to design this aspect of my emulator, which is to say, having this like SDL engine be the thing that drives. You know, that kind of is the driver for the game or for the emulator, and basically makes calls in. I think in his engine, he just kind of makes calls to regular functions, and the linker resolves them. In my case, I am expecting this interface to be implemented, and so I expect the game code to register with whatever engine is available. And then after that, the engine will call back out into the client. So very similar in spirit, anyway. Oh, looks like I've got maybe some errors here. No, okay. ABD says he started trying to use Emacs, and so far it's actually really good for what I set it up to. So I tried Emacs. For about a week, which is not really long enough, I'm sure. And I found it because I have like RSI problems, hence the split keyboard and stuff. I was having a lot of issues with the fact that I had to keep using my pinkies to go on Control and Alt and stuff. And I in the past I used VI. Not a lot, but enough to appreciate it for what it is, and so I kind of prefer that. And I know some people use Evil or something, which is like some kind of VI key bindings in Emacs. But in truth, you know, because of my day job, I have to work in Visual Studio, making games. Pretty much everything works in Visual Studio, so I've gotten really used to it, and I just don't feel like I have like an immediate need to learn a different editor, despite the fact that I'm sure Emacs and VI would ultimately make me faster. But I don't really spend that much time typing. Most of my time is spent navigating code and reading, and I get by pretty well with Visual Studio for that. ABD says he's used to to Vim as well, so Emacs is funky. So would you use the evil key bindings? Apparently people like Emacs with evil because it gives it the benefits of Emacs without the weird typing problems. But I really am not an expert on that stuff. So apparently Casey has his own config that you're using and you don't have to reach as much compared to before. Okay, so he like binds stuff that are often used to more accessible keys, I guess. So he switched to 4Coder. So 4Coder is that text-based editor, right? The one like you say was being written by Mr. Fourth Dimension. Must be pretty good if Casey actually switched to it. Can't imagine being able to convince someone like Casey to switch to another editor. Is it basically Emacs with extra stuff? He says he can't think of going back. Wow, that's pretty impressive. I guess that says a lot about Mr. Fourth Dimension. It's like Emacs plus Vim and it's really fast. So like, why aren't you using it in that case? So let's see here. Oh, it's not free. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Mr. Fourth Dimension probably wants to cover his costs there, right? That's very interesting. I wonder how well he's doing in terms of sales there. He put a lot of work into it. Oh, I can imagine. Writing an editor is a huge amount of work. He implemented everything to be perfect. I believe it. So the only thing I haven't really tried here is connecting a second controller. I'd have to fish one out. Actually, you know what? I might actually have one. Do I have one? Nah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to go look in my stuff. Okay. Pretty happy with this. I'm just thinking about how it's a lot of code for gamepad stuff all in one place. So I'm wondering if I want to move some of this out. You know what? Whatever. This file is like 358 lines of code. I think I can survive. Kind of like that all the SDL stuff is in one file, so let's keep it that way. Okay, so what do I want right here? implement gamepad support for. Yeah, actually that's one thing I don't really make sure that there's only 2 players. So if you plug 3 controllers, it probably will crash. What will it do? Yeah, and I think I have that loop, right, where I'm will it crash or assert? Let's see. So I'm going through here, I'm getting this joystick index and I'm saying set button. And I'm passing that. Yeah, so it's gonna assert right here. And even if it wouldn't assert, no, yeah, it would assert, basically. So I guess we could avoid that. In fact, what I really should do is just not allow it to ever enter in here in the add controller. So if index is greater than or equal to 2, or okay, so that should take care of that part. What else was I thinking? I was also thinking about the config thing. But I'll worry about that another time. So implement game support for up to 2 players. If gamepad connected, not connected, keyboard can be used. Okay. Just thinking about what I want to work on next. Okay, so I did this and I did this. Replace hacky input code with proper abstraction, implement gamepad support. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna work on this. I want to see here. So this Bedlam had this unhandled op here. So I think if I run Bedlam with the other CPU, it would actually work. It would be interesting to get this guy working by implementing the missing op or ops. CWAI, what's that again? And CCR, wait for interrupt. Oh, that's interesting. So it's actually a... So I haven't actually done much interrupt code in this emulator. So this is probably what's happening is it's going to end the CCR and look for the interrupt bit or something to be set. Let me go see. Clear and wait for interrupt. So the CY instruction ANDs an immediate byte with the condition code register, which may clear interrupt mask bits. It stacks the entire machine state on the hardware stack and then looks for an interrupt. When a non-masked interrupt occurs, no further machine state will be saved before vectoring to the interrupt handling routine. I have no idea what I just read. Hands an immediate byte, so I guess this here. Direct extended index. Okay, so you read a byte from one of these. With the condition code register, with the CCR, which may clear interrupt mask bits. Right. So let me just see here, CPU. So there's interrupt mask and fast interrupt mask. Those are the two bits it's probably talking about. So basically what I'm reading here is that with this instruction, you can AND and set all these bits, including the interrupt mask and fast interrupt. So you can use it to disable these if you need to. Clear and wait for interrupt. It stacks the entire machine state on the hardware stack. So that's what all this is. Right, program counter, user stack. It puts Y, X, DP, B, A, and CCR. All of it gets pushed to the stack. And then looks for an interrupt. When a non-masked interrupt occurs, so, right, no further machine state will be saved before vectoring to the interrupt handling routine. So in this specific state, while it's waiting for an interrupt, when the interrupt occurs, usually when an interrupt occurs, it pushes stuff onto the stack so that it can jump, do its interrupt, and come back and pop everything. But in this case, because it's already pushed and waiting, there will be no, it will not need to push again. Now this instruction replaced the 6800 CLI WAI sequence, but does not tri-state the buses. Okay. Memory immediate. Okay, so it only supports memory immediate. So that's why here it's showing that you give it the immediate address of which byte you want to read. Memory immediate, eh? Okay. Memory immediate. So I guess memory immediate implies that what it passes has to be read. Yeah, we can see here it's 2 values, so it's going to be an address. Interesting. So you must give it an address. So it must be a mask that's been set in memory. Okay. An FIRQ interrupt may enter its interrupt handler with its entire machine state saved. The RTI will automatically return the entire machine state after testing the E bit of the recovered CCR. So I guess, is that an exception? I guess I'd have to read more, but I haven't really read how the interrupts work on this CPU, so I'm not super familiar with how they all work, and that probably will help to implement this. In any case, I can't really implement this instruction because I do need to if it needs to wait for an interrupt, I'm going to have to actually implement the interrupts. So I have to start from there. Okay, so I won't work on that. To be honest, I'm just thinking of calling it a night. Got the gamepad stuff working, pretty happy with that. It's all clean. I think I'm gonna stop here, and in 2 nights, on Wednesday night, I should be back, and I'll think about what I want to work on. Ideally, what I'd really like to work on is implementing the graphic stuff the way I want to do it, not this ugly hack I have right now. So I'm gonna think about whether that's what I'll do on Wednesday or if there's something else. So yeah, guys, thanks for hanging out, and hopefully I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Take it easy.